When others refer to us as the people of God, that should be an indicator that we are like the God that we serve, because we are of Him. So, God is love, so we should be loving. God is patient, so should we be. And God is generous. But sometimes giving, and specifically money, can become a little bit touchy. It's important to note here that Christians are called to be generous and aren't really called to tithe. But what's a tithe? It's a tenth of your produce, and it was something that the Jews were called to bring into the storehouse. There are many stories throughout the Bible of God's people bringing in for the good of all, but also as offerings to God. Think of the story of Joseph and the famine. Melchizedek was given a tenth by Abraham. In the Old Testament, the tithe was given to the Levites, and a tithe of that went to the priesthood. But now we are called priests in Jesus. But the point I'm getting to is giving and tithing aren't necessarily the same. Tithing sets an uncaring standard, something that you can just do, not even think about it. But giving, generosity, that comes from within, that comes from the heart. The Bible is full of reasons why giving is pleasing to God. Do not neglect to do good and to share what you have, for such sacrifices are pleasing to God. Now, about the collection for the Lord's people, do what I told the Galatian churches to do. On the first day of every week, each one of you should set aside a sum of money in keeping with your income, saving it up so that when I come, no collections will have to be made. When God's people are in need, be ready to help them. Always be eager to practice hospitality. In Acts 2, we see part of the church's growth was selling property and possessions and giving to those in need. Giving should be rooted deep down in us. Jesus gave of himself. Our Saviour's attitude was to give. So should ours. It's clear from the Bible that giving to the church is a very biblical way of serving God. We see there are positions in the church where we can keep pastors, preachers, youth workers, janitors, etc., who are servants who lead us in teaching, praying, etc. Jesus and his disciples didn't have regular jobs to support the ministry. In fact, it was a group of women who provided for them, so they were free to focus fully. There's some debate on whether you should give to the church or charity. I'm not going to say either one, but I think this principle might help. You will give to what you care about or you believe can happen. It's a little like investment, without the prosperity gospel attachment. I do believe giving money is like sowing a seed, but to see the thing grow you're sowing into, like you sow into a charity to see people fed or research made, or you can sow into God's kingdom and see it grow. Really, I would suggest in this issue, seek God and see where he leads you. But giving is important. Let us be people of God and generous.